Hey guys, your Uncle Oski here. Let's go for a walk. So, the other day I did something that I haven't done in a really long time. And I went through the last 3 months of my bank statements. And after doing that, I came to a realization about myself that I always knew was true, but I hadn't really taken it in. And that's that I'm really bad with my money. So, for reference, I work a normal job. I work in IT. Work about 45, 50 hours a week, depending on the OT that I do. And while I'm not filthy rich, I do make decent money. I would say that I make more than the average in my state. And that's saying a lot, considering I live in Massachusetts. But going through my bank statements really shows me that I make a lot of really bad decisions with the money that I do get. Obviously, as soon as I get my money, I always put away what I need for rent, for bills, yada yada. But I found a couple recurring themes in there that I don't know. Maybe uh, other people have this issue too, and I just kind of I don't know. I really wanted to talk about it and just kind of see, talk it out, and maybe see if I or anyone else can make some changes on these things, just to kind of help the financial burden that we're all kind of going through right now. And I feel like I and other people make certain financial decisions that we really don't need to make, that we could cut down on. And if you're living in the U.S. like I am, I think you're pretty aware that we live in a society that will just nickel and dime you for everything, dude. So, if you can find anywhere to save some cash, I feel like I found a couple things here that you could probably cut down on. So the first thing I found were my subscriptions, specifically streaming subscriptions. Obviously, there are recurring monthly payments that you can't really opt out of. And then certain things that are useful, like for me, that would be like Amazon. I have my parents' house loaded up with cameras. They're all Blink. So I kind of do need to pay for that to a certain extent. But what I noticed was I have so many different subscriptions for streaming. And really, between work, hanging out with my niece, going out, doing things, doing chores, I really don't use all of these. And the problem I found with a lot of these subscriptions is that they're not super super expensive where you would notice, like if a subscription was $100, trust me, you'd fucking notice. But they're like these sneaky 11.99s that in a great sum you wouldn't notice. But when you, let's say you were to look at your bank statement and you were to go through all of the subscriptions for streaming that you pay for in a month, and you write them all down in a list in one column, and in the other column you write down the price, and you were to add that price together, you'd realize you're paying so much for these subscriptions. And most of us are so busy that there's zero way you're using all of them. So what I did was I wrote them all down. I reviewed the usage, like how much I use these. Like, take for example, like Crunchyroll. Love anime, but the last couple months have been kind of busy, so I haven't been able to use it as much. And in my head, I kind of just went through and like was just thinking, when's the last time I probably used it? I would probably say like 3 months ago. So not only am I paying for something that I haven't used in 3 months, that's like a quarter of the year, But they also changed the price. The price went up $2, and I didn't even notice. So now I'm paying more for something that I barely use. So why would I keep it? So I didn't. I canceled it. It's going to be gone by the end of the month. And so, I really had to take stock of like, all right, here's what I'm using, here's what I'm not using. And throughout canceling all of that, I'm now going to save like $50 a month. Well, it doesn't sound like a lot when you're talking about, big payments. Like I said earlier, like, I mean, $50 compared to my, $400 payment for my car every month. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that could be $50 extra that I'm saving, or $50 extra that I'm putting on top of my car payment to pay it off quicker. Who knows? So yeah, I would say, go through your subscriptions, see what you really need. If you don't think you're getting anything of value of it, or that you haven't used it in a while, you can cancel it. And you know what? If in a couple months, let's say a new show comes out on HBO Max and you want to watch it, that's cool, dude. Resubscribe then. But if you're not using it, cancel it. There's no point. There's 0 point. You're just wasting your money. All right, number 2. Food. No, look, I'm not talking about like groceries here. You know what I mean? Like, I think we can all tell how expensive groceries are now. How it'll continue to get more expensive due to inflation. And obviously with the situation with the Strait of Hormuz, it'll continue to go up because fertilizer will go up and diesel prices will go up. So everything that delivers your food to the stores that you buy it at, it's going to go up. But what I mean by food is just not going out as much for food. Now, don't get me wrong. I love food. Back in the day, I mean, me and the boys, me and my brother and his wife, like, we were going out to eat at least 2 to 3 times every weekend. I love that shit, dude. A nice meal does so much for the soul, but we're getting to the point now where, like, if you go out to go out at a sit-down restaurant, like, if you're not going to some garbage place like Chili's or Applebee's, which, there's a time and place for those, which is Saturday night at 11 p.m. when you're drunk as hell. But I've found that, I mean, with a drink and a good steak or something like that, like, dude, you could be paying up to like $30-$40 for a meal. And even worse, dude, you know what I really found? What I really found was I was spending a lot on after work meals. And what I mean by that is I get back from work. I'm super tired. I want to die. But I'm super hungry and I don't want to cook. So what do? I go on DoorDash. I go to my $10 burrito and watch it turn into a $20 burrito real quick due to all the fees. And obviously you have to tip the poor bastard because, he's not being paid. He's not being paid a fair wage. And that's the same as going to a restaurant. Former waiter here. Trust me, that restaurant is not paying that waiter anything, dude. They're like $3. At least that's how it was for me like a decade ago. So you got to tip. It's an extra charge for your meal. So it's super hard when you work 30 hours a week, especially if you got kids. I mean, it's so hard to just kind of go through the week, going through the daily motions and just cooking. So, you take the easy way and you order something out, but by doing that, you're quickly draining your funds and your resources. And, we're starting to get now, to the point now where, one day we might be paying more for groceries than, it would cost to just go out and eat. But I don't know if we're really at that point yet. But, cutting down on the foods that, you eat out, could help you save some money. I mean, I know since I kind of noticed it, I started eating out less, and it's starting to show in my wallet. It's starting to show a little bit. So just try it out, and it try it out if you start to notice that it is a problem. I mean, if you're getting it once a week, man, who cares? Wednesdays can be tough. Trust me, Wednesdays are probably the day I'm most tempted to just order out because I am beat. So yeah, just kind of take inventory, see how often you're going out to eat, and if you start to see that it's way too much, cut it down a little bit. It might help you out. And now, okay, the third thing I found is probably the hardest to address here. Especially because it's for a topic that's really hard to talk about for a lot of us. And that's addictions. Man, let me tell you something. I have been horrendously down bad for nicotine since I was probably 15 years old. I'm 31 now, and I'm still on nicotine. Quit a couple times, but for the most part, have been on nicotine probably for more than half my life at this point. Let me tell you something. It is not cheap, man. Currently, the vape that thankfully, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I vape, which I mean, it's probably worse. We don't even know what it does to you. And I'm inhaling it into my lungs. But if I were to break it down purely on a financial basis, not even talking about the health implications of it, because I mean, I think everyone on a subconscious level knows that any given addiction is probably really bad for them. And I know, and I've seen it with some of my friends, what's really helped them quit was to just lay out how much money they're spending on it. Hurt your body all you want, but hurt your wallet seems to work pretty well for a lot of people. So the vape that I get is about $20. So you would say, oh, okay, well, $20 a month. $20 a week, because if you were to buy one vape at $20 a pop once a week, you'd be paying, give or take a month is about 4 weeks, you're paying $80 a month for that. But the thing is, that is not how much I smoke, and that is definitely not how much most people smoke. The vape that I get, I probably buy 2 a week. So about $40 a week. So $160 a month. $160 a month. And there are weeks where I'm pretty bad and I end up getting 3. So that's $60 a week. It's unsustainable. It does nothing for me. And obviously the health benefits aside, it would save me a lot of money. There's no real good advice I can give on quitting certain addictions besides, asking for help. But if you're struggling financially, you cannot afford an addiction. You can't afford it in the sense of, obviously you can afford it because you're buying the goddamn thing, but you can't afford it in the sense of you're taking money out of other things that you need to pay for this. And if it ends up, let's say you're an alcoholic, I mean, good God, if you drink yourself to the point where your liver starts failing, with the U.S. healthcare system, you really can't afford it. So, like I said before, disregarding the health side of it, quitting your addictions will help you save so much money, whether it's nicotine. Some people don't like to class it as an addiction, but marijuana is an addiction, dude. The way I've seen people get addicted to marijuana but not kind of realize it is insane. Like, there's this notion that you can't get addicted to it, but you can get addicted to anything, dude. You really can. You get addicted to, like, biting your nails. So any habit can become addictive, you know. And God, if you're buying dispensary marijuana, you're paying extra in taxes. Got to keep re-upping if you go too fast on it. You're dropping money into a black hole that probably isn't really doing much for you, and honestly probably costing you a lot more money because you might be high as hell doing the two other things that I just mentioned before. You could be getting the munchies and then just being like, oh, I want to watch a movie. So you go onto one of your 1,000 subscriptions here to watch a movie, and then while you're watching the movie you get hungry and you spend $40 on some like Chili's to get delivered to your house. I mean, like, if you just add those three things together, like you're spending so much money. And then while you're doing all that, you got your vape on you. Like that as a total package, if you're doing it consistently, is costing you a lot of money. A lot of money. At this point, we all know the economy's bad. The economy is really bad. There's not much we can do as an individual to help the overall economy at this point. If you're not a 1%er, you're not moving the needle. But what we can do is we can take some responsibility for the things that we can change. We can cancel certain subscriptions. We can curb certain addictions, even though you should be doing it for other reasons besides money. But if we're talking about purely financials, trust me, cut out the nicotine, cut out the weed. If you're a dude and you're paying for OnlyFans, cancel it. Look for food. Listen, if you get too tired to make some food, dude, meal prep on Monday. Make sure you have some certain meals that you can just have ready, pop into the microwave, and get her done. There's always a way to try and help yourself. We're climbing a mountain here right now, but we can overcome it, or at least help it out with better decision making. That part is on us. Don't make life harder for yourself. Make it easier for yourself, more manageable. Because only you can make things easier for yourself. At least with certain things. So, yeah, thanks for listening. Take care, and join me for our next time. Thank you.